Welcome to Trailblazers on WDIY 88.1 FM. I'm your host, Melody Bradford, and today's guest is a true leader in emergency medical services and community impact. Robert "Bob" Mateff, Sr. is the CEO of Cetronia Ambulance Corp., one of the largest EMS providers in eastern Pennsylvania, with over 200 associates and a fleet of 47 vehicles. Under his leadership, Cetronia responds to more than 60,000 emergency and non-emergency calls annually. Bob brings a wealth of experience from serving as a volunteer firefighter to pioneering regional 911 systems. He was deputy director at Pima and Penn 911 and even owned a restaurant in his early years. Tonight, we'll explore his journey, leadership philosophy, and the innovative vision he's bringing to EMS. Let's dive in. Bob, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. So you started as a volunteer firefighter and an EMT in 1988. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, what drew you into emergency medical services, EMS, in the first place?
So it started out as a young person. My grandfather took me down to the firehouse, and we got to walk around and see the vehicles and talk to the volunteers, and it cooked for a couple of years. And then some of my friends were involved in the volunteer activity, and I decided to give it a try. So I joined the local fire department, and back in 1988, they kind of handed you a pair of boots and a jacket and a helmet and gave you some very basic training, and off you went.
Wow. Okay, so that's, 35 years of service?
Yeah, I didn't really want to add that up.
How would you say the field has changed, and what was one of the earliest lessons you remember learning on that journey?
Well, starting out in the fire department, I kind of quickly realized that there was another opportunity on the emergency medical services side, because so many times you're called to an accident or a site, and they're not seriously injured, but you still need to take care of them. So I found that attracted me more, so I became an EMT. And the fact that you get to help people every time you go out is really what kind of resonated and drew me to become more active.
Interesting. Now, before the EMS, right, you
Yes.
owned a restaurant. Tell me a little bit about it, okay, and what lessons from that time shaped your leadership today?
So I started, it was 1985. It was Dairy Delight on Main Street in Hellertown. It's now
nice.
Vassie's Drive-In.
Okay.
And I was at Moravian, now University, and I was there for a semester and thought, well, no, I think I know everything. Being all 18 and thinking I'm smart. Always had worked in the food service business growing up through high school. Had a number of jobs in there. Left Moravian, started working in the food service industry full-time. A business opportunity came up, and with the support of my parents, they co-signed the loan for me.
Wow.
And I became a business owner at 18 with a lot to learn.
Wow.
And, we had a very small staff, a lot of part-time people. So early on, what it helped me develop was the collaboration between staff and customers, and trying to make sure it was a good experience for everybody, because you could get a part-time job anywhere.
Yeah.
So to keep part-time people, we needed to be worker-friendly and communicate with them. And so a lot of lessons early on. First year in business, I think I signed up for every advertisement, sponsorship. And when you're self-employed, at the end of the day, what's left over is yours. So learn some lessons about economics and then reinvesting in things. Years 2 and 3 were much better.
Workforce and billing and accounts receivable pay, all of that,
Yeah,
right? Retail.
it really was.
Now, you said that you went to Moravian.
Correct.
But you actually earned a degree from DeSales in criminal justice, right? And a leadership certificate from the University of Pittsburgh. How did those credentials influence your path, and where did that pivot happen?
Yeah, so after being in the restaurant business for 3 years, and at 18, and you're putting in 80 to 100-hour weeks, they were doing a construction project called I-78.
Oh, yes.
Which made the property value a lot higher. So I was able to sell the business, and I believe in 1988 it was the year the real estate market took a big hit, and I thought it was a good idea. I had got my real estate license, and
Oh, wow.
the interest rates hit 15, 16, 18%.
Wow.
Nobody was qualifying for anything, so I needed to find something else to do. So I got involved more in the public safety, and then I realized the 18-year-old that left Moravian kind of made a mistake. I needed more education and experience, so I went through the Access program at DeSales and learned a tremendous amount. Right, so at that time, I thought my career path was going to go on to become an attorney. I was doing the criminal justice pre-law track, super interested in that. Lots of great mentors at the university for helping you develop your leadership. And graduated from DeSales in 2006, which then opened up doors to other opportunities that were in public safety.
And is one of those doors, did that lead to Northampton County 911? Because you helped build Northampton County's 911 Emergency Management Center. What were the biggest challenges and insights from that experience, but how did you get there?
Yeah, so I started off my career at the county where we were doing dispatch, but it wasn't 911. This is all before 911.
Okay.
And with my background in real estate, the sheriff's department had a need for someone that had a real estate background because they do foreclosures and things like that. So I went to the Sheriff's Academy, became a deputy sheriff, and spent about 10 years doing that. Yeah,
Talk about some pivots.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say I've probably had every young person's fantasy jobs.
Yeah.
Been involved in fire, police, EMS. It's just been really great spending 35 plus years in public safety.
Wow.
But as the county had, they were taking over the 911 system, and I had been running the criminal data part of it for the sheriff's department, and it was just a natural transition to start to get involved in 911 work. So I transferred into the 911 Communications Center, which was a project where we built a new facility. But it was my first exposure at any leadership level to, I'm going to call it political issues and divisiveness, because there were people that were very pro County 911 Center, and there were people that were very not pro.
Yeah.
So I certainly learned that you can believe in a purpose, but you may have to do more explaining of it to get people to have buy-in and understanding. It just doesn't come automatically because you have a good idea or it's a good thing to do.
Yeah. We recently had Lamont on, and he talked a little bit about county government and kind of navigating those waters. What kind of resistance did you face, and what has that taught you about kind of, working with people now in emergency management?
Yeah, it was very valuable because it became a very political issue, and we had public hearings that I had to testify at. So you got exposed, right? And when you come through those procedures and circumstances, you take something away from that. And one of the big takeaways for me was transparency, right? Like, things are so much easier when you're transparent. So when you're working with your employees, if you put a new process out or a policy, if you explain why, it becomes more palatable. The same thing was happening during this time, because it was like, well, why do we have to do this with the 911 center? We're happy with the services we have. And it's like, in the long run, this is going to be the best way to go. And I think time has proved that out, right? The Northampton County 911 Center does a great job, as all 911 centers across Pennsylvania do. But it really helped learn how to deal with the political pressures and understanding you have to communicate.
Yeah, transparency with employees or constituents or whomever really you're serving as a leader is incredible advice. It's really important, and it's something I keep hearing, with each interview. It's you have to be transparent, right? And so you not only did the Northampton County 911, but then you were deputy director at the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, or PEMA, right? You led a statewide 911 system development. How did you navigate statewide coordination and reform?
Well, it's interesting. All of these opportunities have helped shape who I am today. So, 25 plus years in county government, I really got to understand the inner workings of local government. And so having the opportunity to go out to Harrisburg to work for the governor opened up a whole new experience for me. State government is much different than local government. I was very fortunate to be a first in a job, and I've been kind of very lucky in my career to have first opportunities at a job. You get to kind of mold the position. I was the first director of emergency management services at the county, which took the emergency management and 911 and combined it. I was the first deputy director at PEMA for the 911 program.
And did your exposure, do you think, at the county level, did that lend itself to the PEMA opportunity?
It did, because I was able to be active in the legislative work that was going on at the local level to help try to fund these centers, and I participate a lot you work a lot with PEMA when you're there. So I think it was a great transition from being in a mid-sized county, third-class county in Northampton County, to overseeing the system for the whole county as we were going to prepare for the next generation of 911. So one of the first things we had to tackle was the legislation. And, I was part of the team that wrote the surcharge on your cell phone, so sorry about that. But that generated a lot of revenue that was distributed back out to each of the counties and continues to do so today to help fund all of the 911 centers across the county.
Which is a critical, it's something that's critical,
Yeah.
which actually kind of serves your role now, right? But, okay, so, you're at the state level. You talked about working with legislators. You talked a little bit about, what it took to kind of get things done in Northampton County. How did you unify so many stakeholders? Because that's relatable regardless of what industry you're in. How do you unify so many stakeholders?
One of the experiences I was fortunate to have was to travel around the state. So I got to visit with not all the 911 centers, but most of them. So from the larger municipal ones, like in the city of Philadelphia, to Tioga County, where they had one person working overnight, right? So,
I went to school up there.
Okay,
yeah.
you're right. Like so, you wind up hearing from people, and they get to know you, right? Because that's important. They need to know you. Right. The position is great, the title's whatever it is, but if they believe in what you talk about, what you tell them, express to them, listen to them. Listening super critical. We asked for a meeting. We had all the 911 centers come to Harrisburg one time. Had never been done before, and it was interesting to see the dynamics in the room. It was a whole day, and people had issues from all levels, but by the end of the day, they had made connections and maybe at least got an understanding that while the problems in Philadelphia are such, the ones in Tioga County just as important, just very different.
For sure. And so you were, in addition to PEMA and Northampton County, you had Penn's emergency communications. You oversaw the modernization, right? What technologies or strategies were game changers? And are you using any of those today at Cetronia? How has all of that experience kind of evolved into what your vision and what your, how you innovate now?
Yeah, I think what the opportunity at Penn was, first of all, great institution, University of Pennsylvania, Ivy League school. It was mistakenly, I thought, because it was half the mileage to Harrisburg for the commute. It didn't turn out to be half the time. So it still took a lot of time commuting back and forth to Philadelphia.
Absolutely.
But you get involved in a system, and when you come from outside often, and this did help at Cetronia too, coming from outside of the system, you have experienced and learned from others, right? So I'm constantly learning from others. Like people in the industry, people outside our industry can teach us things about our industry. So I had the opportunity to go to Penn, and they were really in an older system. Like their radio system was older. Their way of communicating messages. They at the time had the third largest police department in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It's a very big and important public safety role. So we were able to upgrade radio systems and way of communicating. Even the text back and forth, mass notification. We really
laid the groundwork for that. That's
yeah,
interesting.
it was a great experience.
Yeah, I guess so, man. So you then became COO of Cetronia in 2017. Interim CEO mid 2020, right? Okay, so let's just pause for a second. Mid 2020, right after COVID hit, in emergency management. And now you're full CEO, and that happened in 2021. That had to have been an incredibly crazy time and challenging and unique for any leader, let alone one in emergency services. How did the pandemic shape your vision and your leadership? What did that do to you?
So it was a really scary time for everybody, and in emergency medical services, it really drove home what our people do day in and day out. Because some of the business functions you can make remote, right? We can work from home, we can work remotely. Financial things, a lot of things can be done remotely. One of the things you can't do remotely is take care of people.
Of course.
So our staff was having to go in every day, the EMTs, the paramedics, our paratransit persons, and it kind of reminded me of the human nature of what we do. Because you're looking at someone saying, hey, we don't really know everything about what's going on. We're going to ask you to wear a whole lot more extra protective layers and equipment, protective gear. But we don't know that you're not going to get sick and take it home to your family. Like that really kind of like you look people in the eye and like you have to
be transparent.
Correct. And one of the things that we did was we probably had daily, at least every other day, we were communicating with the staff, letting them know what we knew. We brought in physicians from Lehigh Valley Hospital to talk to our people about when the vaccine became available. We tried to make sure that we emphasized, again, the transparency and communication between leadership and the field staff to make sure that they felt comfortable. We had little waves of COVID come through our own staff, and now you're trying to figure out how to provide this essential emergency service when you have 20% of your people that are quarantined. So one of the things that it made you, it forced you to think outside the norms, which has kind of always been something I try to remind myself. Just because it was done that way yesterday doesn't mean that's how it has to be done tomorrow.
Yeah. Now, during that time, what values or practices did you lean on to guide your team through that storm? Beyond transparency, and how do you now carry that into how you manage today?
I think the whole experience got us closer together. Like they knew me, right? Because I was walking around the building, I was talking to them, trying to help out with whatever we could, and they get to know you on a more personal level because it's like a crisis, and then we're all sharing information. We try very hard to continue to communicate in every way we can with our folks. We've adapted to things now. We do town halls where we get on a Teams meeting and everybody's welcome to join in. I give an update on things, but it's that more constant communication that we do has come from the pandemic. We have what we call the Cetronia Insider that's for our staff. So it's published regularly on the internet or intranet, and then they get to see it. So communication is the key thing that we learned out of that. And since you go through such a scary thing, it seems like a lot of other things are no longer as scary.
Yeah, that's wonderful advice. So Cetronia responds to more than 60,000 calls each year across diverse communities, and you partner with 2 major health networks who are fiercely competitive, even from a national perspective. I've talked to, marketing teams at both, and, it can be fiercely competitive. How do you manage such operational scale and complexity and balance frontline needs with long-term strategy and culture?
So one of the things that we do is we have very specific planning schedules, routines. So our board of trustees is a super group of people that are from the community in many different business aspects. We have insurance, we have banking, we have legal, we have healthcare. All these strategic leaders come together and support us. And we do regular planning cycles. So every 3 years, we're going through a strategic cycle of planning where we identify those long-term needs. So as we're going through the day-to-day, month-to-month tasks, it's all with an eye on where we're going. The long-term vision always is present, but it's incremental. So it keeps building on that. I think one of the things that helps Cetronia is our scale, because little things don't affect a larger, more diverse organization. There are many smaller organizations that provide great service in our area and are more susceptible to, if a few employees leave or if there's a lack of reimbursement, right? Like our size helps us get through that.
That's interesting. So you've actually said that it's been shared that you've led a culture reset to reconnect Cetronia to its roots. What changes have had the biggest impact? And, does any of that relate to what you just mentioned?
Yeah. It's we started working with the alumni group of Cetronia people because, 70 years ago, it's our anniversary this year.
Oh, wow.
We started in the village of Cetronia with 8 people that organized and wanted to provide emergency services. They eventually used the S&H green stamps to buy an ambulance. If, those of us that remember green stamps and maybe have some products at home from that era. And we connected with them and we brought them back into the organization. We have active volunteers that still work with us every day. They're on some committees for us. And it ties us to our roots, right? So as a community nonprofit, even though you get larger, and 200 employers or employees, it's not bad. You want to make sure that you remember your mission, and they help ground you to that mission, right? Because that's what they were there. They gave their time. They were volunteers. And as we've transitioned into career staff, it helps remind us. And we did a celebration back in April. We had many of them attend the event, and we had displays and just a sheer change in equipment, responsibilities, training, and education. It's been very dramatic, but we really try to make sure that we recognize the past with an eye to the future.
So from alumni to newbies, if you will, right? Tell me a little bit about your youth program, because you guys have almost like a succession plan in place where, you're doing community and education youth programs. And tell us how you're working with, different educators, things of that nature, in order to be able to, education institutions, in order to be able to kind of get the next set ready.
Yeah, we have a great education department that we've greatly expanded over the past few years. We have an advisory board, and again, this is that lesson that the more information I get from more people, the better we all can be. So it's that continual learning. So we have people on our advisory board for education that are professors at universities, leaders of public education, higher education. And the programs that we have an embedded program at Parkland, where there's an opportunity for students to become emergency medical technicians throughout that year.
Oh.
Right, and that helps grab. We participate with Lehigh Career and Technical Institute,
Okay.
Where we go and are their EMT program for them. So that touches the balance of the high schools in the Lehigh County area. So it's a good way to start feeding people that maybe, I'm not sure I want to go to college. I'm not sure what I want to do. And it's an opportunity. We also have a number of those people, especially come through, that are pre-med, and they're going to go on to become nurses and doctors, but they learn through here, and they get that initial experience of patient contact, and then we get them for a few years. We get to borrow them and help develop their patient bedside manner. We get as involved as young, I think 12. We have a summer camp.
Wow.
That we coordinate with South Whitehall Township and the other public safety agencies every year. It sells out every year, and it's full. It's always great. So they get exposed to all the emergency services.
That's awesome. Building that pipeline.
Yeah, building the pipeline.
Yeah.
And then we run our own education programs, and currently right now we're doing an intensive 5-week program for EMTs, and a lot of these are recent high school graduates that are going to be going off to college in the fall, so they're going through a pretty intense program. So it gives the exposure, right?
Yeah.
And then we talk about the fact that this is a good way to enter the healthcare field, and then go on to, we've had physician assistants. As a matter of fact, one of our medical directors started as an EMT with Cetronia many years ago.
Do you think that all of this helps with recruitment? Because I have to say, there's certain subsets throughout the Lehigh Valley and, in other markets, I would imagine, where recruitment can be tough, right? So do you think that, building these opportunities helps with recruitment? Do you have any issues in that area?
Yeah, recruitment certainly has changed. We've had that's a post-pandemic change. We had to think differently about asking people to get involved in this field, right? That it really was a big change. So when it does help feed the program, we often get people that come through our programs that work for us, many part-time, some full-time. We have a state-accredited apprenticeship program, so we can bring people in from the entry level, which is our paratransit workforce. That's the wheelchair and stretcher van movement, and educate them through EMT. We have our own EMT academy. We can put them through. They don't have to pay for it, and then we give scholarships each year for, I think next year we're sending 6 people to paramedic training.
Oh, wow.
So you can come in to our organization and within a number of years become a paramedic and really earn a great wage and be able to sustain. So it has helped us. We're in a limited pool. Paramedics are the hardest resource to recruit nationally. It's very tough. It's a pretty arduous curriculum they go through, and they're really great clinicians. But we're all fighting for the same. Like every agency is competing, even though we don't compete necessarily against each other. You're competing for the same person.
Yeah.
And that becomes very, very challenging. And as the dynamics of the next generation are coming in, it changes.
And you're certainly taking the steps to kind of insulate yourselves from that. So that's cool. That's awesome. You once advised that if you're not changing, you're falling behind. How do you instill that mindset in a mission-critical organization? And can you share with us what leadership advice from a mentor or close confidant has particularly resonated with you? Where did that come from?
Yeah, it's kind of through the leadership courses I've taken, the education through the University of Pittsburgh, and all those opportunities. And every opportunity I had to do the position for the first, whether you're the first deputy director of PEMA, whether you're the first director of emergency management services, you kind of have to innovate, right? Because it's not been done before. There's no playbook. You have to kind of work through it. And we instill it in our team by, the leadership group. Like, what do we do to think differently? Like, what's the problem today, and how do we turn it around? We did a retreat, last year where we were encouraging all of our leadership to do a judo flip. Let's turn the problem upside down. Like, don't look at it from our position. Look at it from the other side, or the employee side, right? Like, just change it all around. So, in a mission critical organization, it's critical that we don't always hang on to what we did in the past, because everything is evolving. the care we give, the treatments, the protocols, they all change. When I first started in emergency medical services, there was a device called mass trousers. We used to put these inflatable pants like that the pilots wear, and that was going to save lives. They're not on trucks anymore. They don't exist.
So, from the evolution perspective, what's next for Cetronia?
As we continue to evolve, we opened up or supported a new station in Northampton County in Bushkill Township.
Nice.
We continue to look to partner with other organizations because I do think healthcare is especially pre-hospital healthcare. We have to work together, right? We have to form these partnerships and alliances, and we need to be efficient. And it's a commonwealth, so everybody wants their own little domino.
Yes.
And we need to really educate to the benefits. And again, this is going to be that tough conversation. It doesn't make sense to have a fire truck or an ambulance on every street corner. We have to figure out what's the most efficient way. We have to use technology to help us predict call volume. It's not perfect, but it can give us a sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're known as a collaborator, so if anybody can do it, you can. Bob, thanks so much for sharing your journey from running a restaurant small business to pioneering Pennsylvania's EMS systems and now leading Cetronia Ambulance Corps into its next chapter. Your vision and your collaboration and relentless focus on community truly epitomize what Trailblazers is all about. If you'd like to learn more, listeners, about Cetronia, visit cetronia.org. And thanks for tuning in to Trailblazers on WDIY 88.1 FM. Don't forget you can stream episode recordings anytime via Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Melody Bradford. Until next time, keep blazing your own trail.